All praises are for Almighty Allah, the Sustainer, the Ever-Living One, the Cherisher, the Nourisher, the Creator of the entire creation. The one who has no parents, no children, no spouses. The one who is independent of the entire creation, that is our Creator, our Sustainer, Almighty Allah. Almighty Allah is the greatest. He is the most supreme. He is the most majestic. And anything which is connected to Him is also great, majestic and supreme. From the entire Qur'an that we have, Almighty Allah selected one verse, one ayah of the entire Qur'an to be the greatest ayah, to be the best ayah, the most majestic ayah. Out of the entire Qur'an, 30 chapters, over 6,000 verses. But from that, Almighty Allah selected one, which is mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 255. Almighty Allah states, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm, lahu ma fi as-samawati wa ma fi al-ard, man dha alladhi yashfa'u 'indahu illa bi'idhnihi. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. This one verse of the Qur'an, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that هي سيدة آي القرآن. In the hadith mentioned in Jami' al-Tirmidhi, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that from the entire Qur'an, all of the verses, the head and leader of all of those verses is Ayatul Kursi. One day, Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked one of the companions, Sayyiduna Abu al-Mundhir, Ubay ibn Ka'b radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. This narration is mentioned in Sahih Muslim. Sayyiduna Ubay ibn Ka'b radiyallahu anhu was from amongst the most knowledgeable of the Qur'an, from amongst the companions. But the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked a question to Sayyiduna Ubay ibn Ka'b that he has never asked any other companion. Until that day, this question had never been asked. The question was, أَتَدْرِي أَيُّ آيَةٍ مِّن كِتَابِ اللَّهِ مَعَكَ أَعْظَمُ? From the entire Qur'an that you have, that Allah has revealed to us, from all of the verses, do you know which verse is the greatest verse? Now Sayyidina Ubay ibn Ka'b radiyallahu ta'ala anhu had this knowledge because he was given this knowledge by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on a different occasion. But out of humility, he said, Allahu wa rasuluhu a'lam. Allah and His Messenger know best. But because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that my beloved companion knows this answer, but we want to educate the entire ummah with this question. Because this knowledge is not to go into the grave, but rather it is to be passed on to students who will pass it on to their students and so on and so forth. So he asked again. Now Sayyidina Ubay ibn Ka'b radiyallahu ta'ala anhu understood that the fact that I gave the answer out of humility, but the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is asking me again. Therefore he wants me to declare this knowledge openly. so that the others listening could benefit from this knowledge. So he replied, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, meaning Ayatul Kursi is the greatest verse from the entire Qur'an. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, Wallahi liyahnika al-ilmu ya abal mundhir. Rejoice with this knowledge that you have been given, that this ayah is the greatest of the Qur'an. This is no ordinary knowledge. Rejoice, be happy that Allah has given you this knowledge. Because for something to be great, to be supreme, to be sublime, it has great characteristics, it has great virtues, it has great power. This is why it is the greatest of the entire Qur'an. This ayah, even though it is a long ayah, even though it seems like it is a chapter of the Qur'an, a short chapter, but in reality it is just one verse which is mentioning about different aspects of Almighty Allah in terms of His attributes, in terms of His power, in terms of His authority, in terms of His knowledge, and in terms of intercession. Almighty Allah discusses various things in this verse. However, this verse that we find is divided into 9 parts, 9 sentences. But the miracle that we find in this is that they are connected. So the first part, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. That's the first part. La ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. Second part. Lahu ma fi as-samawati wa ma fi al-ard. Third part. Man dha alladhi yashfa'u 'indahu illa bi'idhnih. Fourth part. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم. Fifth part. ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء. Sixth part. وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض. Seventh part. ولا يؤوده حفظهما. Eighth part. And then lastly, وهو العلي العظيم. The 9th part. There are 9 parts to this ayah. But the beauty and the miracle is, normally this ayah is read and the miraculous nature of it is missed. In reality, the first part connects with the 9th part. The second connects with the 8th. The third connects with the 7th. The fourth connects with the 6th. The fifth connects with the 6th. There's a connection between all of the first parts and the last parts. We find Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. Allah. Who is Allah? There is no deity, no God worthy of worship except Him. Who Him? Al-Hayy, Al-Qayyum. The one who is always living. He is always living. He has always lived. He is living. He will always live. That is Allah. But not only does He live, what about the rest of creation? Al-Qayyum. He is the one that makes the entire creation run. He maintains and sustains the entire creation. He is Qayyum. But this part connects because the attributes are being mentioned. So the 9th part in the bottom, وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ, and He is the most high and supreme. These 2 parts connect. The attributes are being continued in the 9th part of the first part of this verse. Then Almighty Allah continues, لَا تَأْخُذُهُ سِنَةٌ وَلَا نَوْمٌ. Drowsiness doesn't overcome Him. Sleep does not overcome Him. He does not go to sleep, nor does He feel drowsy. When is this being referred to? Obviously, Almighty Allah is free from sleep. He is free from drowsiness. But this is connected to the 8th part, which is what? Almighty Allah mentioned, وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا, protecting the heavens and the earth. He protects the heavens and the earth, and He doesn't feel drowsiness, He doesn't feel sleepiness when He is preserving the heavens and the earth. He protects, preserves, safeguards the heavens and the earth, but He doesn't feel any form of tiredness or weariness. Imagine the brothers that do security. Imagine doing night shift security, 12 hours. You start to feel tired. How much of the CCTV camera are you going to watch? How much are you going to protect the building? Or whatever, the warehouse. You start to feel tired. You start to feel tired. You start to feel the drowsiness. You want to go to sleep. But Almighty Allah, who is protecting us always, He is protecting the entire creation. He does not feel any sleep. He does not feel any drowsiness whatsoever. ما في السماوات له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. Everything in the heaven and the earth, the skies, all seven skies, Jannah, Jahannam, the Arsh, the Kursi, everything going up, everything going down, the earth, the seven layers of the earth, everything belongs to Almighty Allah. Lahu mulku samawati wal ard. The entire kingship belongs to Almighty Allah. So this verse, this part of the verse is mentioning that lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Every single thing, no matter what you think, belongs to you. This is my house, this is my car, this is my wealth. No, it belongs to Almighty Allah. He has entrusted you with it to see whether you spend it in the right cause or in the wrong cause. Whether you protect yourself by not becoming corrupt with what He has entrusted you with, or whether you go completely astray. But it all belongs to Almighty Allah. So this part, lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard, this connects with wasi'a kursiyyuhu samawati wal ard. His chair, which signifies His power over the entire creation. It expands over the entire heavens and the earth. These two parts connect. Likewise, Almighty Allah continues, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. Who is it that can intercede to Almighty Allah without His permission? Who can ask Almighty Allah for intercession without His permission? Oh Allah, allow this person. Oh Allah, let him go to Jannah. Oh Allah, forgive this person. Oh Allah, he is close to me. Please forgive him. Who can intercede to Almighty Allah? Illa bi-idhnih. Except by His permission. Meaning whoever has been given the permission to intercede is interceding due to being given the permission by Almighty Allah. So when the Prophet ﷺ will intercede for us on the Day of Judgment at Maqam Mahmud and intercede, Ash-Shafa'atul Kubra, the big intercession will take place, where people of the hellfire will go to Jannah from amongst the believers. Those that the Prophet ﷺ decides to intercede for, when they will be allowed to go to Jannah and the intercession will take place, that intercession will be taking place because Almighty Allah has permitted it. The permission of Almighty Allah has been given. Without the permission, nobody can intercede. None of those false gods will intercede. Krishna will not intercede. Guru Nanak will not intercede. None of these gurus, none of these idols, Buddha will not intercede. None of them will intercede. None of the false gods. Only Allah will allow from his beloveds whomsoever he wishes to intercede for others of their beloveds. May Allah bless us with the shafa'ah, intercession of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But now this part, it connects with وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. That who can encompass the knowledge of Almighty Allah except that which He has given. The exception. There the intercession. Nobody can intercede except. Nobody can encompass the knowledge of Almighty Allah except the knowledge that He gives. These two exceptions that have been mentioned are connected. And then in the middle we find يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ. He, Almighty Allah, knows that which is in front of them and that which is behind them. This is referring to many things. Number one, all of the previous parts, the sentences were connected to the coming sentences. Number two, Almighty Allah knows what people will do in the future and what they have done in the past. And most importantly, Almighty Allah has a knowledge of every single thing. There is nothing, there is no knowledge at all which Almighty Allah does not know. He has all knowledge without any limit whatsoever. The way He is free from limits, that which He knows is also free from limit. There's no limit to the knowledge of Almighty Allah. Therefore, no matter how much knowledge we may have, remember Allah has even more knowledge. Whomsoever Allah bestows more knowledge, they have more knowledge. فَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above each person of knowledge is somebody more knowledgeable. Therefore, there's nothing to be arrogant about. We may think we have the most knowledge, but there's people that have more knowledge. And if you are the most knowledgeable from the entire creation, from the humans, from the jinns, and so on and so forth, Allah has more knowledge than you. Nothing to be arrogant about. Allah is not arrogant about His knowledge. Therefore, as His servants, we shouldn't be arrogant of the little drops of knowledge that we have. This is Ayatul Kursi and the beauty and miraculous nature of it. That each part is connected to the other part. The first is connected to the ninth, and like this, the second to the eighth, and so on and so forth, until we reach the middle part, which connects the previous parts and the next part. But this Ayatul Kursi, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about Ayatul Kursi in Al-Mu'jam al-Kabir of Imam al-Tabarani radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that man qara'a Ayatul Kursi dubara kulli salatin maktubatin lam yamna'hu min dukhul al-jannati illa an yamut. One who recites Ayatul Kursi after every salah, not just the ones that we're able to perform, no. After every salah, all 5 times prayer. If we do this and live our life as a good Muslim, what will happen? لَمْ يَمْنَعْهُ مِنْ دُخُولِ الْجَنَّةِ إِلَّا أَنْ يَمُوتَ. Nothing will stop him from entering Jannah except for death. Meaning death is the only delay for him to enter Jannah. Once he dies, that individual will enter Jannah. But the condition is to read Ayatul Kursi dubura kulli salatin maktubatin, after every fard salah. Therefore, if we are missing the salah, we will be deprived of this favor. But if we are performing our salah and reading this and living our lives as good Muslims, inshallah, we will enter Jannah. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ.